no live organism can continue for long to exist sanely under conditions of absolute reality. Even larks and katydids are supposed, by some, to dream. But Eleanor never dreamed again after Hill House. Eleanor Vance arrived at Hill House under a sky the color of wet ashes. The long, winding road behind her gave way to rusted gates and a house that stood like a dark sentinel in the trees, watching, waiting. She stepped inside. The air was cold, unnaturally so. The hallway seemed to bend slightly, not in shape, but in feeling, like a house built wrong, on purpose. Theodora, another guest, greeted her with a wry smile. The two would share a room. Safety in numbers, they thought. But Hill House had other plans. The room was elegant in an unsettling way. Velvet drapes that didn't move, even in the breeze. A mirror angled just wrong, and a headboard with a floral carving that looked, in certain light, like a face. Eleanor tried to sleep, but the silence was too complete. It wasn't the kind of silence that comes from peace. It was the kind that listens. Then the sound, soft, almost like laughter, but distant and wet, like something dragging across the wall outside. Her heart pounded. She sat up, but Theodora was asleep. So Eleanor lay back down, eyes wide, muscles tight. The doorknob rattled. She froze. Then it stopped, followed by heavy breathing, not hers, on the other side of the wall. Eleanor squeezed her eyes shut and reached her hand across the bed. "Theo," she whispered, "are you awake? I am frightened." Her hand took hers, small, cold, and trembling. The fingers tightened, like Theodora was afraid too. Eleanor held on. Then a low moan echoed through the room. The walls seemed to bend inward, the ceiling pulsed like a heartbeat. She held the hand tighter. "Theo, say something." No answer. Suddenly the lights flicked on. Theodora sat up in the other bed, across the room. "What?" she said groggily. "What's wrong?" Eleanor looked down. Her hand was empty. She didn't scream. She couldn't. Her voice was buried somewhere deep in her chest, under a layer of ice. Who or what had been holding her hand? Theodora tried to laugh it off, said it was a dream, sleep paralysis, maybe even Eleanor's imagination. But the next morning, the hand Eleanor hadn't been holding was bruised. Faint marks like fingers pressing down too hard. She didn't mention it again, but Hill House noticed her silence, and it grew stronger. The walls ground louder, doors shut on their own. Words began to appear. "Help Eleanor," written in dust. Hill House wanted her, and after that night, Eleanor wasn't sure if she wanted to leave. She came to escape, to find a place where she mattered. What she found instead was a house that watched her sleep, that reached out in the dark, that whispered her name long after everyone else had fallen silent. And the worst part, she held its hand back. What do you think touched Eleanor's hand that night? Let us know in the comments below, and whatever you do, don't sleep with the lights off tonight. Help Eleanor, come home. The words weren't there yesterday. No one saw who wrote them. No one admitted to it, but everyone blamed her. It was a quiet morning at Hill House. The kind of quiet that didn't feel earned, but imposed. Like the silence was hiding something just behind the walls. Eleanor, Theodora, Dr. Montag, and Liam gathered in the parlor for breakfast. The mood was strained. Eleanor hadn't slept since the night she held the wrong hand. She stirred her tea absent-mindedly, barely hearing the others speak, until Theodora screamed. They all rushed into the hallway. There it was, on the wall, scrawled in chalky jagged letters. Help Eleanor, come home. The writing shimmered in the morning light, as if it was still drying. Eleanor stared in disbelief. Her name. Her name. But she hadn't written it. Theodora's face twisted. This is sick, Eleanor. If this is your idea of a joke. Eleanor stepped back. I didn't. Why would I? But the others were already exchanging glances. Dr. Montag tried to remain calm, but Luke's voice cut through the tension. We are here to observe the supernatural, not create it. Eleanor's mouth went dry. That day, the group avoided her. Conversation slowed when she entered the room. The walls seemed to listen in. And that night, the writing appeared again, in the hallway, in her own room, on the inside of a closet door. Always the same message. Help Eleanor, come home. But what did that mean? Was she not home yet? Or had Hill House already claimed her? Eleanor began to hear things. Faint whispers behind him, laughter in the corners of empty rooms. She started writing in her journal, but when she looked back at the pages, her handwriting seemed off. Words she didn't remember writing. Sentences that sounded like someone else. She heard footsteps outside her door. They stopped when she approached. She opened the door. Nothing. She closed it. And the writing was there again, fresh, wet, as if chalk had just scraped across the wood. She wiped it away. An hour later it returned, twice as large. Help Eleanor, come home. The message wasn't just haunting her, it was beckoning her. One evening, Theodora shouted from her room. Eleanor rushed in and froze. All of Theodora's belongings were destroyed, clothes slashed, mirror shattered, her walls smeared with red paint or blood. It was impossible to tell. In the center of the chaos, written across the floor, help Eleanor, come home. Theodora backed away from her. Stay away from me, she whispered. Eleanor's lips trembled. You didn't think I... But even she wasn't sure anymore. Was Hill House using her? Or had something inside her changed? Had she become part of the house? Dr. Montag considered sending Eleanor away. He feared for her mental state. But the writing had stopped appearing, for now. Still, the walls remembered. Hill House doesn't let go, not once it's spoken your name. And for Eleanor, it wasn't just a message anymore, it was a calling. Because somewhere deep inside, she started to believe it too. She was home, and she didn't want to leave, not ever. Was Eleanor possessed, manipulated, or just breaking down? Comment your theories below, and remember, if a house starts writing to you, don't answer back. Hill House has a heart, and at its center is the spiral staircase. Somewhere between the cracking iron and the shadows that twist like smoke, Eleanor forgot how to be afraid. It began with a whisper. Eleanor lay awake again. The same cold bed, the same heavy silence pressing in from the walls. Her eyes were wide, her body still. And then, her voice, faint, female, whispering her name, not from the hallway, but above her. It drifted down through the ceiling like mist through a crack. She sat up, listening. Eleanor. It came again. She didn't scream. She didn't even feel fear. Just curiosity. A strange pull, like something unfinished, was calling her. She followed the voice in her slippers, quiet as a breath. Through the hallway, past the parlor, into the library. That room had always felt heavier than the others. Its windows seemed darker. The dust never settled. And in the corner of the library stood a narrow spiral staircase, ancient iron rusted at the edges. It wound up to a small, closed door. No one had gone up there, not since the caretaker warned them that it was unstable, dangerous. But tonight it gleamed, like it was waiting. The voice called again, closer this time, almost pleading. Eleanor, come. So she placed a hand on the cold rail and began to climb. Each step ground under her weight. The staircase trembled like it was breathing. She climbed slowly, around and around. Each revolution felt deeper than the last, like she wasn't going up, but spiraling inward. Her vision blurred, her balance tilted. She could no longer see the library below, or the door above. All she saw was the twisting metal and the shadows sliding along the wall. She didn't feel tired. She didn't feel real. And then, a cold breath on her neck. She turned. Nothing. But the rail was wet. And something unseen brushed her cheek. She reached the top. The door was ajar. Inside was a circular room with the bare stone walls and a single window that faced nothing but the dark trees. Eleanor stepped in, and suddenly the voice was behind her, louder, all around her, inside her. This is where she stood, it said. The room grew colder. She climbed the staircase just like you. Eleanor turned. The door was closed. The shadows shifted. The floor creaked though she wasn't moving. And then she saw it. A faint outline, a woman, just standing beside her, face pale, hands limp, rope burns on her neck. The last woman who had climbed this staircase never came back down. Dr. Montag found her the next morning, asleep on the floor of the tower room. The others said she must have sleepwalked. But Eleanor didn't remember falling asleep. She remembered climbing. She remembered the voice. And most of all, she remembered the feeling that she didn't want to leave. That the spiral had wrapped itself around her. That she had finally reached the center of something vast, cold, and eternal. Hill House had opened its arms, and she stepped in willingly. The last climb, the final calling. Was it a ghost that led her up? Or was Eleanor always meant to stay in Hill House? Drop your thoughts below, and if you ever see a staircase that shouldn't be there, don't look up.